little heart. Color, come and go. Modesty at marriage tide well becomes a pretty bride. Modesty at marriage tide well becomes a pretty bride. Braid the raven hair, weave the supple tress, deck the maiden fair in her loveliness. Paint the pretty face, tie the coral lip, emphasize the grace of her ladyship. Art and nature, thus alike, go to make a pretty bride. Art and nature, thus alike, go to make a pretty bride.
Yes, I am indeed beautiful. Sometimes I sit and wonder, in my artless Japanese way, why it is that I am so much more attractive than anybody else in the whole world. Can this be vanity? No. Nature is lovely and rejoices in her loveliness. I am a child of nature and take after my mother. The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty, he scorns to tell a story. He would exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly be indulgent. But fierce and bold in fiery gold, he glories all effulgent. I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know the sun and earth. I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know our worth, the sun and earth. Observe his flame, that placid dame, the moon's celestial highness. There's not a trace upon her face of diffidence or shyness. She borrows light that through the night mankind may all acclaim her. And truth to tell, she lights up well, so why for one don't blame her? Pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We are very wide awake, the moon and I. Pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We are very wide awake, the moon and I. Yes, everything seems to smile upon me. I'm to be married today to the man I love best. Oh, and I believe I'm the very happiest girl in all Japan.
The happiest girl indeed, for she is indeed to be envied who has attained happiness in all but perfection.
In all but perfection?
Well, dear, it can't be denied that the fact that your husband is to be beheaded in a month is, in its way, a drawback. It does seem to take the top off it, you know.
I don't know. It all depends.
Well, in all events, he will find it a drawback.
Not necessarily. It all depends.
I think it very indelicate of you to refer to such a subject on such a day. If my married happiness is to be
Cut short.
Oh, well, cut short in a month. Can't you let me forget it?
Oh, Yum Yum in tears, and on her wedding day.
They've been reminding me that in a month you're to be beheaded.
Yes, we're reminding her that in a month you're to be beheaded.
It's quite true, you know. You are to be beheaded.
There are some bridegrooms who would be depressed over such a thing. A month? Well, what is a month? I say these divisions of time are purely arbitrary. Why, who says 24 hours make a day?
Well, there is a popular impression to that effect.
Then we will efface it. We shall call each second a minute, each minute an hour, each hour a day, and each day a year. At that rate, we have about 30 years of marital happiness before us.
And at that rate, this interview has already lasted 4 hours and 3/4.
Yes. How time flies when one is thoroughly enjoying oneself.
That's the way to look at it. Let us not be downhearted. There is a silver lining to every cloud.
Yes, yes. Let's be perfectly happy.
By all means, let's thoroughly enjoy ourselves.
Oh, well, it is absurd to cry.
Quite ridiculous.
Don't mind me.
Sir, I'm afraid we are distressing you.
Never mind. I must get used to it. Only please, do it by degrees. Begin by putting your arm around her waist. There. Let me get used to that first.
Oh, wouldn't you like to retire? It must pain you to see us so affectionate together.
No, I must learn to bear it. Now oblige me by allowing her head to rest upon your shoulder.
Like that?
I am much obliged to you. Now, kiss her. Thank you. It's simple torture.
Come, bear up. After all, it's only for a month.
No, it's no use deluding oneself with false hopes.
What
What do you mean?
My child, my poor child, how shall I break it to her? My little bride that was to have been.
Was
What?
to have been.
Yes, you never can be mine.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I've just ascertained that by the Mikado's law, when a married man is beheaded, his wife is buried alive.
Buried alive?
Buried alive. Most unpleasant death.
But who did you get that from?
Oh, from Pooh-Bah. He's my solicitor.
But he may be mistaken.
So I thought. So I consulted the Attorney General, the Lord Chief Justice, the CLO, the CAO, C3PO, EIEIO, and to make absolutely certain, the Assistant Dean of the Division of Humanities, Fine Arts, and Social Sciences. They're all of the same opinion. Never knew such unanimity on a point of law in my life.
That law has never been put in force.
Well, not yet. You see, flirting is the only crime punishable with decapitation. And married men never flirt.
Oh, that's right, they don't. I'd quite forgotten that. Well, I suppose that I may safely take it that my dream of happiness is at an end.
Darling, I don't want to appear selfish, and you know I love you with all my heart. Sweetie, I don't suppose I shall ever love anyone else half as much. Poopsie. But you see, when I agreed to marry you, my own, well, I had no idea Pet, that I should have to be buried alive in a month.
Nor I. This is the first I've heard of it.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does make a difference, of course.
You see, burial alive, it's such a stuffy death.
I call it a beast of a death.
Oh, you see my difficulty, don't you?
Yes, and I see my own. If I insist on you carrying out your promise, I doom you to a horrible death. But if I release you, you marry Coco at once.
Here's a howdy-do, if I marry you. When your time must come to perish, the maiden whom you cherish must be slaughtered too. Here's a howdy-do, here's a howdy-do.
Here's a pretty mess, in a month or less. I must die without a wedding. Let these bitter tears I'm shedding witness my distress. Here's a pretty mess, here's a pretty mess.
Here's a state of things, to her life she clings. Matrimonial devotion doesn't seem to suit her notion. Burial it brings. Here's a state of things, here's a state of things. With a passion that's intense, we worship and adore. But the laws of common sense we oughtn't to ignore. If what I says is true, 'tis death to marry you. Here's a pretty state of things, here's a pretty howdy-do. Here's a pretty state of things, a pretty state of things. Here's a howdy-do.
Here's a howdy-do.
For if what I say is true, I cannot marry you. Here's a pretty, pretty state of things. Here's a pretty howdy-do. My poor boy, I'm really very sorry for you.
Thank you. I'm sure you are.
You see, I'm quite helpless.
I quite see that.
I can't conceive anything more distressing than to have one's marriage broken off at the last moment. But you shan't be deprived of a wedding. You shall come to mine.
That's very kind of you, but I'm afraid it's impossible.
Why so?
Today, I die.
What do you mean?
I told you I can't live without Yum Yum. This afternoon, I perform the Happy Dispatch.
No. Pardon me, I can't allow that.
Why not?
Why, hang it all, you're under contract to die by the hands of the public executioner in a month's time. If you kill yourself, what's to become of me? Why, I shall have to be executed in your place.
So it would seem.
Now then, Lord Mayor, what is it?
The Mikado.
Oh, the Mikado, yes.
Sweet, approach the city and we'll be here in 10 minutes.
He's coming to see whether his orders have been carried out. Now, look here, this is getting serious. A bargain's a bargain, and you really mustn't frustrate the ends of justice by committing suicide. As a man of honor and a gentleman, you are bound to die ignominiously at the hands of the public executioner.
Very well then. Behead me.
What? Now?
But certainly at once.
Chop it off, chop it off.
My good sir, I don't go about prepared to execute gentlemen at a moment's notice. Why, I never even killed a housefly.
Still, as Lord High Executioner.
My good sir, as Lord High Executioner, I've got to behead him in a month. I'm not ready yet. I don't know how it's done. I'm going to take lessons. Perhaps an accelerated course, or one of those weekenders. I mean to begin with a guinea pig and work my way through the animal kingdom until I come to a second trombone. Why, you don't suppose that as a humane man, I'd have accepted the post of Lord High Executioner if I hadn't thought the duties purely nominal? I can't kill you. I can't kill anything. I can't kill anybody.
There, my good man. We all have certain unpleasant duties that must be discharged at times, so what of it? I mean, if I don't mind, why should you? After all, sooner or later it must be done.
Must it? I'm not so sure about that.
What do you mean?
Why should I kill you when making an affidavit that you've been executed will do just as well? Here are plenty of witnesses. The Paducah City Commission, the Commonwealth's attorney, the governor of Kentucky, not to mention the judge's executive of McCracken, Marshall, Graves, Ballard, and Callaway counties.
Where are they?
Well, there they are. They'll all swear to it. Won't you, Pooh-Bah?
Am I to understand that all of us high officers of city, county, and state are to perjure ourselves to ensure your safety?
Why not? You'll be grossly insulted as usual.
Will the insult be cash down or on the installment plan?
It will be a ready money transaction.
Very good. Then choose your fiction and I'll endorse it. Ha ha, family pride. How do you like that, my buck?
But as I said, I can't live without Yum Yum.
Oh, Yum Yum, Yum Yum, bother Yum Yum. Here, Commissioner, go and fetch Yum Yum. Now, my good sir, you may take Yum Yum and you may marry Yum Yum, only go far away and never come back again. Ah, here she is. Yum Yum, are you particularly busy?
Not particularly.
You 5 minutes to spare?
Yes.
Then go along with His Grace, the Archbishop of Tittypoo. He'll marry you at once.
But if I'm to be buried alive...
Now, don't ask any questions, but do as I tell you. Nanky Poo will explain all.
But hold on a
Not
bit.
for worlds! Here comes the Mikado! No doubt to ascertain whether I've obeyed his decree. And if he finds you here alive, I shall have the greatest difficulty in persuading him that I've beheaded you. Oh, close thing that. Here he comes.
From every kind of man obedience I expect. I'm the Emperor of Japan.
And I'm his daughter-in-law elect. He'll marry his son, he's only got one, to his daughter-in-law elect.
My morals have been declared particularly correct.
But they're nothing at all compared with those of his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
In a fatherly kind of way, I govern each tribe and sect. All cheerfully own my sway.
Except his daughter-in-law elect. As tough as a bone, with the will of her own, is his daughter-in-law elect.
My nature is love and light, my freedom from all defect.
Are insignificant quite compared with his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
A more humane Mikado never did in Japan exist. To nobody's second, I'm certainly reckoned a true philanthropist. It is my very humane endeavor to make to some extent each evil liver a running river of harmless merriment. My object all sublime I will achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pant unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, All prosy, dull society sinners who chatter and bleat and bore are sent to hear sermons from mystical Germans who preach from 10 till 4. The amateur tenor whose vocal villainies all desire to shirk shall during off hours exhibit his powers to Madame Tussauds waxwork. The lady who dyes a chemical yellow or stains her gray hair pules or pinches her figure is painted with vigor and a permanent walnut jewels. The idiot who in a railway carriages scribbles on window panes. We only suffer to ride on a buffer in a parliamentary train. My object all sublime I will achieve in time to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pant, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment,
His object all sublime, he will achieve in time to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pant, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment,
The advertising quack who juries with tales of countless cure, his teeth I've enacted shall all be extracted by terrified amateurs. The music hall singer attends a series of masses and fugues and dops, by Bach interwoven with Spohr and Beethoven, a classical Monday pops. The billiard shot whom anyone catches is doomed extremely hard. He's made to dwell in a dungeon cell on a spot that's always barred, and there he plays extravagant matches in fitless finger stalls on a cloth untrue with a twisted cue and elliptical billiard balls. My object all sublime I will achieve in time to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pant, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment,
His object all sublime, he will achieve in time to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime,
and make each prisoner pant, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment,
I am honored in being permitted to welcome your majesty. I guess the object of your majesty's visit, your wishes have been attended to. The execution has taken place.
So, you've had an execution, have you?
Yes, the coroner has just handed me his... The coroner has just handed me his certificate.
I am the coroner.
This is his certificate of death. At Titipu, in the presence of the Lord Chief Justice, the Lord Chancellor, the Attorney General, the Secretary for the Home Department, the Lord Mayor.
They were all present, Your Majesty. I counted them myself.
Very good, House. I should have liked very much to have been in time for the performance.
Oh, a tough fellow he was, too. A man of gigantic strength. His struggles were terrific. It was really a remarkable scene.
Describe it.
The criminal cried as he dropped him down in a state of wild alarm. With a frightful, frantic, fearful frown, I bared my big right arm. I seized him by his little pigtail, and on his knees fell he. As he squirmed and struggled and gurgled and guggled, I drew my snicker-snee, my snicker-snee. Oh, never shall I forget the cry or the shriek that shrieked he, as I gnashed my teeth when from its sheath I drew my snicker-snee.
We know him well, he cannot tell untrue or groundless tales. He always tries to utter lies, and every time he fails.
He shivered and shook as he gave the sign for the stroke he didn't deserve. When all of a sudden his eye met mine, and it seemed to brace his nerve, for he nodded his head and kissed his hand, and he whistled and added he, as the saber true cut cleanly through his cervical vertebrae, his vertebrae. When a man's afraid, a beautiful maid is a cheering sight to see. And it's oh, I'm glad that moment sad was soothed by sight of me.
Her terrible tale you can't assail, with truth it quite agrees. Her taste exact for faultless act amounts to our disease.
Now, although you'd have said that head was dead, for its owner dead was he. It stood on its neck with a smile well bred, and bowed 3 times to me. It was none of your impudent offhand nods, but as humble as could be. For it clearly knew the deference due to a man of pedigree, of pedigree. And its, oh, I vow, this deathly bow was a touching sight to see. Though trunkless yet, it couldn't forget the deference due to me.
This haughty youth, he speaks the truth whenever he finds it pays. And in this case it all took place exactly as he says, exactly, 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 exactly as he says.
This sounds very interesting, and I should have liked to have seen it, but I came about a totally different matter. A year ago, my son, the heir to the throne of Japan, bolted from my imperial court.
Indeed. Had he any reason to be dissatisfied with his position?
None whatever. On the contrary, I was going to marry him. Yet he fled.
I'm surprised that he should have fled from one so lovely.
That's not true.
No.
You hold that I am not beautiful because my face is plain, but you know nothing. You are still unenlightened. Learn then that it is not in the face alone that beauty is to be sought. My face is unattractive,
It is.
but I have a left shoulder blade that is a miracle of loveliness. People come miles to see it. My right elbow has a fascination few can resist.
Allow me.
It is on view Tuesdays and Fridays on presentation of visiting card. As for my circulation, it is the largest in the world.
And yet he fled.
And now is masquerading in this town, disguised as a second trombone.
A second trombone?
Yes. Would it be troubling you too much to go and fetch him? He goes by the name of
Nanky Poo.
Nanky Poo.
No, it's quite easy. It's rather difficult. In point of fact, he's gone abroad.
Abroad, his address.
Reedland.
What's the matter?
See here, his name, Nanky Poo, beheaded this morning. Oh, where shall I find another?
Oh, dear, dear, dear. This is very tiresome. My good fellow, it seems in your anxiety to carry out my wishes, you have beheaded the heir to the throne of Japan.
I beg to offer an unqualified apology.
I desire to associate myself with that expression of regret.
Oh, well, we really had no idea.
Of course not. How could you? It's not your fault. If a man of exalted rank chooses to disguise himself as a second trombone, then he must take on the consequences. It really distresses me to see you go on so. I'm sure he got all he deserved.
We are infinitely obliged to your majesty.
Oh, much obliged, your majesty.
Very much obliged, Your Majesty.
Obliged? Don't mention it. How could you tell?
Of course, we couldn't tell who the gentleman really was.
Well, it wasn't written on his forehead, you know.
It might have been on his American Express card, but he left home without it.
I've seemed to have forgotten the punishment for compassing the death of the heir apparent.
Punishment?
Yes, something lingering, with boiling oil in it, I fancy. Something of that sort. I think boiling oil occurs in it, but I'm not sure. Oh, I do know it's something humorous, but lingering. With either boiling oil or melted lead. Oh, come, my good fellow. I'm not a bit angry.
If your majesty will accept our assurance, we had no idea.
Of course.
Well, I knew nothing about it.
I wasn't there.
That's the pathetic part of it. The fool of an act says compassing the death of the heir apparent. There's no word for mistake.
No.
Or not knowing.
No.
Or having no notion.
No.
Or not being there.
No.
There should be, of course.
Oh, yes, they should.
But there isn't.
Oh.
That's the slovenly way in which these acts are always drawn. However, cheer up. I'll have it altered next session. As for your execution, will after luncheon do? Can you wait until then?
Oh, yes,
we can wait till then.
Good. Then after luncheon.
I don't want any lunch.
I'm really very sorry for you all, but it is an unjust world, and virtue is only triumphant in theatrical performances.
Well, here's another fine mess you've gotten us into, with your nodding head and the deference due to a man of pedigree.
Merely corroborative detail intended to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise bald and unconvincing narrative.
Oh, corroborative detail indeed. Corroborative fiddlestick.
Well, you're just as bad as he is, with your cock and the bull stories about catching his eye and his whistling in air. But that's so like you, you must put in your oar.
But how about your big right arm?
Oh, yes, and your snicker-snee.
Well, never mind that now. There's only one thing to be done. Nanky Poo hasn't started yet. He must come to life again at once. Ah, here he comes. Here, Nanky Poo, I've good news for you. You're reprieved.
Oh, sorry, too late. I'm a dead man, and I'm off on my honeymoon.
Nonsense! Something terrible has just happened. It seems you're the son of the Mikado.
Hey, Mikado.
Yes, but that happened a long time ago.
Is this a time for airy persiflage? Your father is here. And with Catishaw.
My father and with Catishaw?
Yes, he wants you particularly.
So does she.
Oh, but he's married now.
Oh, but bless my heart, what has that to do with it?
Well, Catishaw claims me in marriage, but I can't marry her because I'm married already. Consequently, she will insist upon my execution, and if I'm beheaded, my lovely bride must be buried alive.
You see our difficulty.
Yes, I don't know what's to be done.
No. Yes, there is one hope for you. If you could persuade Catishaw to marry you, why, she would have no further claim upon me, and I could come back to life again without any fear of being put to death.
I? Marry Catishaw?
I really think it's the only course.
But my good girl, have you seen her? She's something appalling.
Ah, but that's only her face. She has a wonderful personality, and she cooks, and she cleans, and she sews, and she does windows, and she has a right elbow that people come miles to see.
I am told that her right heel is much admired by connoisseurs.
My good sir, I decline to pin my heart upon any lady's right heel.
What it comes down to is this. As long as Cadishaw is single, I prefer to remain a disembodied spirit. With Cadishaw married, existence would once again be as welcome as the flowers of spring. The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, breathe promise of merry sunshine. As we merrily dance and we sing, tra-la, we welcome the hope that they bring, tra-la, of a summer of roses and wine, of a summer of roses and wine. And that's what we mean when we say that a thing is welcome as flowers that bloom in the spring. Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, the flowers that bloom in the spring.
Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la. The flowers that bloom in the spring, trauma, have nothing to do with a case. I've got to take under my wing, trauma, a most unattractable thing, trauma, with a caricature of a face, with a caricature of a face. And that's what I mean when I say or I sing, oh, bother the flowers that bloom in the spring. Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, oh, bother the flowers of spring. Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la.
And yet alive. Oh, sepulchre, my soul is still my body's prisoner. Remote the peace that death alone can give. My doom to wait, my punishment to live.
For the last time, I must tell you, leave before I do something I'll be sorry for. Huh. Well, I finally think I got through to them. Kathy Shaw.
The miscreant who robbed me of my love. But vengeance pursues. They are heating the cauldron.
Cattishaw, behold a suppliant at your feet. Cattishaw, mercy.
Mercy. Had you mercy on him? See here, you have slain my love. Well, he did not love me, but he would have loved me in time. I am an acquired taste. Only the educated palate can appreciate me. I was educating his palate when he left me, and, well, he's dead now, and where shall I find another? It takes years to train a man to love me. Am I to go through the weary round again and, at the same time, implore mercy for you who robbed me of my prey? I mean my pupil. Just as his education was on the point of completion? Oh, where shall I find another?
Here!
What?
Cattishaw, for years I have loved you with a white-hot passion that is slowly but surely consuming my very vitals. No, shrink not from me. If there is aught of woman's mercy in your heart, turn not away from a lovesick suppliant whose every fiber thrills at your tiniest touch. True it is that under a poor mask of disgust, I've endeavored to conceal a passion whose inner fires are broiling the soul within me. But the fire will not be smothered It defies all attempts at extinction and breaking forth all the more eagerly for its long restraint. It declares itself in words that will not be weighed, that cannot be schooled, that should not be too severely criticized. Katisha, I dare not hope for your love, but I will not live without it. Darling.
You, whose hands still reek with the blood of my betrothed, dare to address words of passion to the woman you have so foully wronged?
I do. Accept my love or I perish on the spot.
Go to. Who knows so well as I that no one ever yet died of a broken heart?
Oh, you know not what you say. Listen. Listen. Plan B. On a tree by a river, a little tomtit sang willow, tit willow, tit willow. And I said to him, Dickie Bird, why do you sit singing willow, tit willow, tit willow? Is it weakness of intellect, birdie, I cried, or a rather tough worm in your little inside? With a shake of his poor little head, he replied, oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough, singing willow, tit willow, tit willow. And a cold perspiration bespangled his brow. Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. Then he sobbed and he sighed, and a gurgle he gave, and he plunged himself into the billowy wave. And an echo arose from the suicide's grave. Ooh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. Now I feel just as sure as I'm sure that my name isn't Willow, Tit Willow, Tit Willow. That was blighted affection that made him exclaim, oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. And if you remain callous and obdurate, I shall perish as he did, and you will know why. Though I probably shall not exclaim as I die, tit willow, tit willow, tit willow.
Did he really die of love?
He really did.
All on account of a cruel little hen?
Yes.
Poor little chap.
It's an affecting tale, and quite true. I knew the bird intimately.
Did you? He must have been very fond of her.
Oh, his affection was something extraordinary.
Poor little chap. And if I refuse you, you will go and do the same?
At once?
Oh, you mustn't. Anything but that. I am a silly little goose.
You are.
And you won't hate me because I'm just a teeny weeny bit bloodthirsty, will you?
Hate you? Oh, Katisha, is there not beauty even in bloodthirstiness?
My idea exactly. There is beauty in the bellow of the blast. There is grandeur in the growling of the gale. There is eloquent outpouring when the lion is a-roaring and the tiger is a-lashing of his tail.
Yes, I like to see a tiger from the Congo or the Niger, and especially when lashing of his tail.
Volcanoes have a splendor that is grim, and earthquakes only terrify the dolts. But to him who's scientific, there is nothing that's terrific in the falling of a flight of thunderbolts.
Yes, in spite of all my meekness, if I have a little weakness, it's a passion for a flight of thunderbolts. If that is so, sing derry down, derry is evident, very our taste all one. Away we'll go and merrily, merry nor tardily, tarry till day is done. is beauty in extreme old age. Do you fancy you are elderly enough? Information I'm requesting on a subject interesting. Is a maiden all the better when she's tough?
Throughout this wide dominion, it's the general opinion that she'll last a good deal longer when she's tough.
Are you old enough to marry, do you think? Won't you wait until you're 80 in the shade? There's a fascination frantic in a ruin that's romantic. Do you think you are sufficiently decayed?
To the matter that you mention, I have given some attention, and I think I am sufficiently decayed. If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. Sing derry down derry, we'll merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. Sing derry down derry, we'll merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done.
Now then, we've had a capital lunch and all is ready. Have all the painful preparations been made?
Your Majesty, all is prepared.
Good. Then bring out the misfortunate gentleman and his well-meaning but misguided accomplices.
Mercy, mercy for Coco. Mercy for Pidgey Sing. Mercy even for Pooh-Bah.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that last remark.
Mercy even for Pooh-Bah.
Mercy, my husband that was to have been is dead, and I have just married this miserable object.
Well, you haven't been long about it.
We were married before the registrar.
I am the registrar.
I see. But you still leave me with the difficulty of having slain the heir apparent.
Oh, the heir apparent is not slain.
Bless my soul, my son.
And your daughter-in-law elected.
Traitor! You have deceived me!
Yes, you do deserve a little explanation, but I think he'll give it whole better than in pieces.
Your Majesty, it's like this. It is true that I did say that I had killed Nanky Poo.
Yes, with most affecting particulars.
Barely a corroborative detail intended to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise...
Will you refrain from putting in your oar? It's like this. Your Majesty says let a thing be done. It's as good as done. Practically it is done, because Your Majesty's will is law. Your Majesty says, kill a gentleman, and a gentleman is told, off to be killed. Consequently, that gentleman is as good as dead. Practically, he is dead. And if he is dead, why not say so?
I see. Well, nothing could possibly be more satisfactory.
For he's gone and married Yum Yum. Yum Yum. Your anger pray very, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb. Come, come. And join our expressions of glee.
On this subject I pray you be dumb.
Dum dum.
Your notions so many.
Are not worth a penny.
The word for your guidance is mum. Mum, mum.
You've a very good bargain indeed.
On this subject we pray you be dum dum dum. We think you had better succumb. Come, come. You'll find there are many who went for a penny, who went for a penny. There are lots of good fish in the sea. There are lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea.
The threatened cloud has passed away.
What though the night may come too soon?